Everybody wants to work with AI, right? There's plenty of tools right now which can help you with doing your job better as a QA. You just need to explore, do some research, even ask ChatGPT what it can suggest. You have to start off somewhere, right? There's nothing more horrific than that, actually, to have an issue found and not being able to reproduce and fix it because you cannot find the root cause for it. The situation where devs say can't reproduce, it's a lot more common than you would expect on many projects. Lack of requirements, lack of a clear vision, lack of writing proper Jira stories is one of the things that is the most bothersome aspect that we can come across.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Trouble Busters in the Synergo sessions. We're so excited to have you here. I'm Valentin.
And I'm Madison, and together we're your co-hosts on this journey into the messy, honest side of building software. The odd bugs, the Friday deployment oopses, and the lessons we learned the hard way. You don't have to code to feel the pain of IT projects. Trouble Busters is for anyone who works with tech, dev, design, product, marketing, or leadership. We talk about the bumps, the quick fixes, and the lessons that help teams move forward.
Today on our show, we have a very special guest. Razvan is our lead software developer for tooling, problem solving, and testing. Welcome to Trouble Busters. He will be covering some of the common problems and biggest issues that he's run into in QA, training, among other things, AI, you name it.
Welcome, Razvan.
Hey everyone, glad to be here.
So to start us off, do you want to tell us maybe a funny story about QA or something that happened when you were testing? Something that sticks out to you?
Funny story. Well, most of the funny stories that I have are unfortunately not so funny for end users, but yeah, there's plenty of them. I mean, the one that does come to mind was when I began my testing career a long time ago when we tested on mobile phones. We would usually spend an entire evening setting up the application for tomorrow's tests. And by the time we would finish it, a new version would come in because the devs messed something up somewhere. So they realized and they would send us a new build. So we had to start all over again. So it was all rinse and repeat every night. That was funny now that I think about it, but in reality, back then it was a bit frustrating. So, yeah, that's one thing. Another thing would be back when I would work with a company from the US, which was one of the industry's travel giants. They would have we would work together with a team in London and one in Missouri, and they were really fun guys and they were really good guys. But again, funny stories would be they had a colleague on QA who used to be an English teacher, so they all took jabs at him. And funny enough, he would write really good code, actually, but still the jokes would not let up. So at one point that just became part of the culture and part of the commit messages, something like that, and correcting grammar inside the pull requests where you would do review because this comment is not right, it is not properly written, let's write it in proper English or something. So it just became part of the culture. That's just fun stories, fun memories that I used to have. Now, since joining Synergo, we don't necessarily have any mishaps that are funny or things that are funny with the client. We mostly keep the fun inside the team. We try to be human around our clients as well as the teams we're working with.
Can you maybe tell us some of the common problems that you run into in that QA sort of world? Is there something that comes up almost every time, regardless of the project?
Oh, yeah. One of the most common things that we come across and which causes a lot of grief is poorly written requirements and poorly written Jira tickets. Usually they would have only a title and maybe a short description or maybe just a screenshot which is funny if you think about it, but not so funny to us on QA because we don't really know what to test and
Yeah.
what the acceptance criteria. So I guess lack of requirements, lack of a clear vision, lack of writing proper Jira stories is one of the things that is like the most bothersome aspect that we can come across. Um, there are, of course, tools right now for this which help you write requirements or which help you write better bug type JIRAs, for example, with steps to reproduce and everything. So there's nothing more annoying than getting a ticket and not knowing what to do about it, what to test, who to talk to, how to reproduce it, etc., etc. So I guess this is one of the main pain points that we have. Another one would be like unrealistic expectations from the clients. I'm all up for a challenge. I'm all up for finding solutions to things that might, let's say, be impossible to solve. Second one would be stakeholders unrealistic expectation. And when I say stakeholders, I mean clients, project managers, even team members, or even users, for example. So they would come to you. I'm saying that I'm all up for a challenge, right? So you give me something that needs to be tested or some problem to be solved, test case that needs to be automated, etc. And I'm gonna try. I'm gonna really try my best to do it. But sometimes we just have to admit that some things you should not try to automate, for example, or you should not try to implement, or try to keep it as simple as possible without overcomplicating things. So that's another thing where we have to step in and, for example, draw the line of what can be achieved within budget, within time, with realistic expectation versus what cannot be achieved. Okay. And thirdly, there's also the problem of timelines. I know that everybody wants everything now, but in order to create something which is high quality and which actually is sustainable on the long term and requires minimal changes on the long term without, overcomplicating things and creating a lot of overhead, we should stick to relaxed timelines and not necessarily something that needs to be achieved all in the process of getting it done or out the door as quickly as possible. Because usually when I saw this happening, there were caveats or there were like a lot of consequences afterwards. You would still have to go back and fix whatever got broke, or you would still have to go back and improve it. So you would, most common scenario would be you generate a lot of technical debt, right? And that technical debt at one point comes and bites you back. So keeping the timelines more relaxed, more realistic, and taking care of things when you should is another key to succeed and avoid all these kinds of problems further down the road.
If we just want to go back really quickly about the lack of, I guess, enough info in your Jira tickets, can you tell us some of the requirements that you would like to see in a Jira ticket that would help you
Mm-hmm.
be able to
Sure.
fix them better?
Well, some of the requirements, right? So back when I learned about testing and when I started doing QA, I learned a certain structure which I really loved. And it was really standard, but it was really effective. For example, in the name of the Jira, right? You can easily add between brackets tags like admin panel or homepage or control panel, let's say user section, right? Just to give the developer or the tester a glance of where the actual issue or the actual feature that needs to be tested is located, right? Then the title should be like a very short description, something like, I don't know, error appears when the user clicks login. I'm just saying. You don't need to overcomplicate it at this point. Then in the body of the Jira, you should do like a small description of the issue of what is happening, on which platform it's happening, for which type of users it's happening, and then steps to reproduce. You should keep them simple, clear, maybe at most 5 to 7 steps, no more than that, because then you would you start getting confused. There's too much information and it's hard to reproduce or keep track of. Then the expected result versus the actual result, if it's a bug, or you could write inside the clear acceptance criteria, and if you do them as exhaustive as possibly, then you would avoid issues further down the road. So for example, let's say you're trying to test a new input field. My advice is to add acceptance criteria like this input field should accept only characters or numbers or both. No special characters are allowed. The maximum number of characters should be 30, let's say. So all kinds of these things, which might seem exhaustive or they might seem redundant, but for testing, it really gives you an idea that the acceptance criteria is met and that the definition of done is indeed complete, right? So if everything from the acceptance criteria matches, then you can say that the feature was successfully implemented and nothing was missed. So don't be afraid to like go with a lot of details, and a lot of, like an exhaustive list of what should be tested and what parameters the feature should behave in. Or if it's something like permissions and roles, again, you can do like a matrix of what this role is able to achieve versus what attributes it has. For example, I don't know, a normal user, they can just log in, they can just view content, they can log out, whereas an admin can edit that content, whereas a super admin can also delete that content or something like that, right? So you can do like a matrix with all of these things. Um, but the idea is to add as much information as possible because it really helps out testers. Even when you're doing test automation, it helps us to define the automated tests and we know exactly what to look out for and what we should consider when we are trying to implement that feature. Also, one thing to add, if it's like a bug report, don't forget to add any relevant logs, screenshots, videos, devices where the issue occurs, or browsers, because it really helps out developers. I've been recently exploring a tool, a plugin, Chrome plugin, that allows you to pull off websites more detailed reports. It's called Jam. It's a Chrome plugin and it's really cool because you can use it on any website, and when you do that, it will start recording the last 30 seconds as a default of what you did. So if you come across a bug that is hard to reproduce or you don't know what you did, you will actually find this recording really useful. It also features stuff like getting screenshots, getting videos. It captures like network logs, console logs. It even has an AI feature that allows you to do the steps to reproduce automatically. It automatically injects them. So that's another cool thing that it has.
That plugin sounds really cool to be able to like actually see what happened if you were just clicking around. I know personally you've done some training. You've trained me a little bit on testing. Do you want to talk about that side of what you do for Synergo?
Yeah, I mean, we had several testers that started off in Synergo. It's not necessarily one of the things that I enjoy doing most, not because I don't want to teach people, but I'm always afraid that I haven't covered enough or I haven't taught them properly enough, let's say, in order to be independent and do their job. But I guess it's also a learning exercise on their part. So I need to set a bit my expectations in this regard and understand that people also do learning on themselves. And honestly, they don't necessarily be like in school where you do a test afterwards and stuff. So Again, it's not really one of the things that I do really enjoy doing the most. I mostly prefer the tech stuff and exploring tools and stuff, but um I do like to see people learn things and start practicing what they learn and being successful. So there is merit and enjoyment in that.
Nice. What part of what you do is your favorite?
My favorite part is when I do get a challenge from one of our stakeholders. Something like, oh, we need to test this part and we need some way of doing it, using a tool or some form of automation, let's say, but even for manual testing. And I'm like, okay, let's try to research this part, how this can be achieved, which tool is the most effective to do this. Is it free? Does it cost? Is it a negligible cost or is it impactful? Is there like a free alternative for it, right? Being put up to some kind of challenge, even if it's like something that is on a day-by-day basis for the project, right? So we want to extend and put something in here or just improve the execution time of a test suite or a build suite, right? Anything that can make me do research and exploration of tools and techniques and code that I can use in order to make things better, faster, and more stable. That's what I really enjoy, right? So this research and exploration aspect, this is, the things that really, really makes me happy, let's say.
So we talked about training, researching. Is there any other kind of side of your job, like anything else that you're involved in Synergo?
Mm, yeah, well, because I also lead the QA team, I'm very um, people oriented, let's say. I do love my team and I do try to do the best things that I can for them without, I'm trying not to disappoint them and help them however I can. So, um, being a team leader is a position that I will always ran away from in all of my previous jobs because I'm just so tech inclined and I'm very used to working. I was very used to working on my own and given challenges and trying to overcome them by myself. But at one point in my life and also my career, I wanted to embrace this aspect as well. So having worked with a team of 7 people here in Synergo has really made me gain more experience on this leadership side because like I said, I used to run away from this type of position. But in the end, I realized that, okay, I had my time to shine. I learned enough. Now it's time to share. Now it's time to see other people grow, other people shine. So I'm really trying to do right by them, and I'm really trying to, find them projects with awesome positions where they do have an opportunity to shine. They do have an opportunity to learn because I see just how engaged they are in their learning path, right? And how much they really want to explore this side of testing, especially test automation. It's a big topic inside the team, or AI is another big topic inside the team. Everybody wants to work with AI, right? So there's plenty of tools right now which can help you with doing your job better as a QA. You just need to explore, do some research, even ask ChatGPT what it can suggest. You have to start off somewhere, right? So it's I try to encourage them to learn also by themselves and try to think about solutions, and especially thinking outside the box, especially to and also be client centric because we really do care about our clients and we are partners in all of the projects that we have with our clients, so we're on the same footing, let's say. So yeah, this is one of the aspects as well that really I do really enjoy and I do really love, right? So helping people out, helping our clients out, helping my team out achieve the best that they can do.
A few months back, I remember you gave a talk at the conference. I think it was Bucharest or something. Do you want to go into some detail about that?
Yeah, sure. So building upon what I just said about liking to share things, sharing knowledge, this is an aspect that I always believed in, right? So education and formal, both formal and informal, and trying to better yourself all the time. It's that aspect of lifelong learning that we should always keep in mind, and what we should strive for. It's an aspect that made me go to several conferences over the years and impart knowledge with the rest of the QA community or the rest of the development community. If I had an idea which I wanted to share, or we found something that worked, which we implemented for a client, and we saw it being a success story, I felt always the need to share it with the rest of the QA community, whether national or international. I don't really care. Keeping this in mind, we went with several success stories, let's say, that we implemented last year for several clients around the areas of low code, no code automation, which I do believe will be growing a lot in the near future. I'm not saying that we won't still need, people with programming knowledge or trained in the existing test automation frameworks like Selenium, Cypress, WebDriver IO, or Nightwatch, or Playwright, etc., etc. They are still needed, but I believe that with the rise of AI and with the urgency of delivering features out the door fast, and also with the changes that are happening in the world, where several positions are combined into one. For example, you also do the development, but you also do the testing, or you're a BA, but you should also do the testing, and you should have some technical knowledge of how to do that testing. Or you're a QA and you want to do, I don't know, DevOps, something, monitoring or something like that. I believe these low code, no code tools will be used more frequently on projects, and especially in companies, because they reduce a lot of the time taken to write a test, to execute it. They are software as a service, a lot of them. You don't need to do any special setup. You can practically go to your client's office and just ask for a laptop. You log into the platform, and then bang, you have access to all of your tests, for example. You can edit them even off your phone in some instances. So this is an area which I believe warrants attention. And that's why I chose the topic last year for DevCon, to speak about low code, no code automation. The feedback was good. I mean, people were interested. Some of them have worked with these tools, but they're still pretty inclined to working with the traditional classic frameworks that everybody uses and everybody knows about, like Selenium, like I said, Cypress, Playwright, etc. Low code, no code means that you don't really need to have hands-on coding knowledge in order to write a test, right? It's practically writing a test by either recording the steps that you do inside the browser, clicks, entering input inside the fields, completing forms, etc., which the test automatically records for you, and then you can just edit those steps off of user-friendly UI. Or it has like minimal coding inside. For example, let's say one feature would be the synthetic testing in Datadog, right? You can just use the recorder for actions, but it also allows you the ability to execute JavaScript, right? In order to extract variables, for example, or execute some code on the page, right? So you have to have some JavaScript knowledge in order to write such a function. Or you can just use the normal recorded steps in order to perform clicks, because the recorder in itself extracts the specific locator. If you want to dabble inside the specifics of the locator and maybe use another one, because maybe the one that is returned is not very consistent or it doesn't necessarily perform what you want, then again, you can edit that, but you still have to have some knowledge, some HTML, CSS knowledge, right, in order to get like the proper locator, like getting the X path, the CSS path, etc., in order to overwrite it. I did a talk where I presented a few solutions like MagicPod and Datadog's synthetic testing module. And also, I believe these existing frameworks are starting to make more steps towards the low-code, no-code area. For example, Playwright has that code gen feature, which just record your test by clicking around or typing on the website that you're testing, and it will automatically write the code for you. Yeah, you still have to understand a bit what is happening and how to interpret those steps, how to arrange them, how to optimize them. Maybe you're using page object model or something like that, but still it's a start to writing faster code. So considering this aspect, these tools will in theory provide just this, writing code or writing tests, faster without necessarily needing the deep knowledge to code. They will be in theory more stable. Of course, because they're software as a service, you don't have to take care about the maintenance because you have somebody taking care of that for you. So yeah, in the next few years, I believe this area will grow, and I wanted to be one of the first advocates to actually show people what can be achieved right now, and we'll see what will be in the future. But I do think that this area will grow a lot. Not necessarily the one with AI, right? So not the area where you have like an AI tool that does the testing for you. We had the privilege in Synergo to partner up with a company which was working on such a solution on an agent that performed QA. And while initial tests and data proved promising, I don't know how accurate that will be for testing. So I think right now we're still in the age where um, a lot of the things that we do are just going to be scripts which will be ran, and they will maybe have some kind of feature that might correct some of these steps dynamically. For example, if a locator changes on the page, maybe the script will have like a built-in feature which finds an alternate locator for that without you having to necessarily manually intervene. But I think we're still far off from where we can give an independent QA agent, let's say, a scenario, and it will execute it precisely every time and also adapt to all of the changes that may occur, right? But still, it's a step towards giving more independence to people in teams to write tests, right? Because these low-code, no-code tools encourage everybody in the team to contribute to testing. Everybody can understand what is being tested because they're pretty UI-centric. If you're interested to reading more about this and also the presentation that we gave, there's an article on the Synergo website which I wrote about low-code, no-code automation. So if you're curious about that, you're most welcome to take a look, and you can also contact us and reach out and ask about our experience on tooling and on these kinds of low-code, no-code tools, and we will be happy to guide you.
This show comes from Synergo Group. We help product teams ship with less stress. From idea to code to launch, we set clear goals, cut weights, and keep feedback tight. Web apps, mobile apps, and smart AI help included. Want to talk about a project or a fix for your team? Book a chat on our website at synergogroup.net.
If we're talking horror stories, there's no bigger horror story on the testing QA side than not being able to replicate a bug. that I don't know, your test automation found, let's say, we actually have one of these issues right now. One of the projects we're working on where our automated tests fail intermittently because of an issue, and we do have logs and we do have traces and everything, but the developers just cannot reproduce it, and we cannot reproduce it manually. So there's nothing more horrific than that, actually, to have an issue found and not being able to reproduce and fix it because you cannot find the root cause for it. So we can only speculate.
The 5 worst words to hear. It works on my machine.
The worst 5 words. Yeah.
Like, what would you do in that sort of scenario? Like, how do you even...
How do you approach this?
Yeah.
Well, of course, procedure tells us to raise a bug anyway. We try to provide as many of the details as possible. And then after we allocate it to a developer, if they say that they are not able to reproduce it, they usually bounce it back to us. And we will try to reproduce it even more. If it's, for example, in this instance, it's something coming from a third party. So the next step would be contacting that third party and asking them if they are aware of such an issue that happens. And if they are, maybe we find some more clues. If not, then we keep exploring on our side, but we try not to waste too much time on it. If it's something that is just intermittent, if it's something inside the automated test, and it doesn't reproduce manually at all, so meaning no customers are impacted. And when I say customers are impacted, we base this off actual data coming in from production logs, right? So actual analytics, not an assumption. Then we can tweak the automated test. I don't know. We add the timeout, or we think of an alternative approach on how to make the test more compliant, let's say, because it doesn't fail all the time and just fails intermittently. We don't really know how to fix the root cause for it, for the issue that we find. We try to fix it on the automation side. If it's still a problem and we cannot do a fix on the test automation side, let's say that tries to wait a bit before declaring the test failed or something, then we will just try to allocate more investigation, right? To do more investigation. It might go back to the backlog and we will return to it at some point. But the idea is that we should not abandon it and just say, okay, it's not a problem, right? Because it does happen. We just don't necessarily understand how and why now, but we'll still investigate it eventually, if not now.
We had a question come in from one of our listeners, so I'll read that out, and then we'll let Razvan tell you what he would say to them. So he says, I'm the only QA on a team of 12. Every 2 weeks, we push a release. Every 2 weeks, I'm the blocker. Here's the mess. Our end-to-end tests, the full user flows, fail at random in CI. In staging, they flip a coin. Devs say, can't reproduce. Product wants to see the Friday release anyway. Then we hotfix all weekend. We don't have stable test data. Staging isn't the same as prod. Logs are thin, so I spend hours guessing. When I raise risk, I'm negative. When I let it slide, the bug shows up in prod and I'm, why didn't QA catch this? How do I change the story from QA says no to the team ships with care? What's the smallest set of steps I can get folks to agree on next sprint so we stop rolling dice with users' trust? What do you say?
It's a very complex question. You're practically between a rock and a hard place in this instance. So, regarding the communication, what I was taught to do a long time ago by the colleague that I learned hands-on QA, let's say, from, was that you should prioritize your test scenarios, with the critical ones being the most important, and trying to, run those first. And you try to run as much as possible with the given time you have in the set of priorities, which is established. And always at the end, send an email out to the team saying that, okay, I've tested these aspects, these are my conclusions, these are my recommendations. You don't need to be a blocker. You can recommend that the release should go forward or it should not, and then let the entire team decide. The situation where devs say can't reproduce, it's a lot more common than you would expect on many projects. So what you can do is create like a focus group where two developers are tasked during a period of time, let's say 2 or 3 developers from the team are tasked within a period of time to try to reproduce the critical issue that you found. And if they are not successful, they should still present their findings. They should always compare staging with production, right? If it doesn't reproduce in production, then let's say clients and end users are safe. But if it does, then automatically a root cause should be found within the staging environment and time should be invested inside of that. I mean, even if logs are thin, nothing is stopping you from adding more logs, right? Nothing is stopping the team for adding better login. You should make that a priority for your next sprint or however you are working, because without logging and traces, then of course you're going to have a lot of hard time debugging and finding root causes. So first of all, fixing your logging to get more information, creating a small task group together with the QA person in order to reproduce the issue, and also presenting your findings to the entirety of the team in order to consider whether you want to do the release or not. That would create like, shared responsibility across the team, and the team will say, okay, we can proceed because it's something minor, or no, we should wait until we find this issue and see what exactly is causing it. One thing would be, if it's coming from a specific implementation that you just created during that sprint, you should investigate that first. If you don't really find anything, maybe try to think about alternatives for that implementation in order to see if the issue does reproduce if an alternative for the implementation is used.
I would just suggest like listen to your QA really. Like they're a really often overlooked facet of software development. Like they, having been there, like they're really important to the team to begin with, and they're usually almost like, to use like a commonly used phrase, like they're the canary in the coal mine. Like if there's something that could be wrong, like they'll usually be the first ones to find it, and also kind of deciding to go anyway against what like they find could lead to stuff like technical debt, where you end up just cascading problems. They just stack on top of each other in the future, and after a while it ends up being an absolute mess.
Have you seen people using AI more in QA? And do you have maybe like recommendations or cautions for people using AI?
I have seen people use more AI in the area, in the QA area recently, but they're usually using it, like everybody's using. So they usually open ChatGPT and ask for various solutions for their problem. Um, it's nothing really beyond that at this point. So either it's, I have this error, can you explain where it's coming from? Or I need to create this type of function that does this, please provide one. Or something like, I need to write for my CI/CD pipeline a YAML file with certain steps that I need executed, right? So these are the things that I see people currently using AI for in the QA area. They don't use it actively for testing. Maybe they just ask for some suggestions of what to test in specific areas, or they ask for tools to be provided. But other than that, I haven't seen an active AI agent helping out with testing currently.
do you think that AI could be an active participant, I guess, in testing? Or do you think that that is maybe far away from where we are now?
I honestly think it's a bit far away because its ability to be delusional, if you can call it an ability. But what I saw is that AI doesn't really reproduce consistent results, right? So it may run one time and produce some results. It may run a second time and choose a different path and produce a different set of results, even if you try to tell it to match as much as possible the first run. So I guess this lack of consistency is the main blocker right now. It's not about the speed, let's say, of which it executes the test, because you can run them overnight and the speed would not be a problem in that sense. But the consistency with which it tests, the steps which are given, and the path that it is given, I believe that is what is a blocker right now. I do see AI as a partner in the future. I do see it, right? Someone you can bounce ideas off of, right? Or give him part of the work that you do, and it is able to execute that work and come back with a result. But I think we're still far away from that.
Sorry, I think it would be cool to have like AI work in such a way that it could almost emulate another person. So, it gets its own like inbox and everything. I mean, maybe I'm looking at it too much, I'm personalizing it too much, but like it can receive emails and read them. So, it can go through the full step of signing up as a user, and the expected emails it should receive. It's kind of hard to put into words, I guess. Maybe I need to think about it a little bit more, but just throwing the idea out there. What's one trait from the QA world that you can kind of apply to real life?
I guess that would be the ability to be thorough in what you're doing. So try to think about all of the possible scenarios and outcomes. Try to take into account all of the factors when you're trying to do something. It's one of the things that defines coding. Maybe you would expect me to say like attention to detail. Yeah, attention to detail is important, but seeing a job all the way through and making sure that you respected all of the steps and you went through all of the procedures and you went through everything to make it complete, let's say, and be very step by step focused, let's say, I think is a bit more important in life, right? Because life is a bit more forgiving, whereas the QA field is not. You either miss the bug or you don't, but yeah,
Thanks, Razvan. It's nice to talk to you.
If anyone listening has a blocker at work, we'd love to talk it out. Send us your troubles at troublebusters@synergo.group, and make sure to include the problem, your team size, and your goal. Maybe you'll find your solution next time you tune in.
See you later.